back to Triple Threat, and today we got a little bit of an interesting one today, a little bit of more long format. We're going to be doing a NFL redraft of the draft that just went by. Um, if you didn't know, we did a mock draft and a review, a draft grades, so we're going to see how right and wrong we were after 1 year. So let's get into it. We're going to be doing number 1 to 10 right now. Let's go. Number 1 overall, Jacksonville Jaguars. They select.
Michael Parsons. So Trevor Lawrence was the initial pick here, and it was kind of a no-brainer. Whoever was going number 1 was going to take Trevor Lawrence. That's what the media has hyped him up for so long. He's proven to be a very, very good quarterback prospect, but it's really hard to deny the season that Micah Parsons put together as a pass rusher, as just a great overall linebacker. It's rare for a rookie to make the first team All Pro, and it's kind of cool seeing that this dude is a physical specimen. Like, he took a year off and he trained, and he outran Stephon Diggs. Who else was in that race last night? Tyreek was jogging, so it doesn't count.
I forget who the fourth was. It was Diggs, Parsons, and Tyreek's body was there. He wasn't there mentally. I forget who the fourth was.
But it was an offensive skill position player, and Parsons was by far the biggest out of them, and absolutely dominated. So Dallas has a great defensive stud for the next few years, and I think he'd be great in Jacksonville
It
because I
was
don't think
Nick
they're ready
Chubb?
Wait, really?
I did not know that. Man, he can
Oh,
fly. I knew he was fast. I didn't know he was that fast. Faster than
damn,
Tyreek Hill, confirmed.
faster. Yep. But I think Jacksonville's not ready for a quarterback at this point, and taking a guy that will be a surefire success is a little bit of a safer pick here.
So another thought on that pick. This is probably our longest discussion, but personally, I don't think Jacksonville's good enough for a rookie quarterback. The advantage for a rookie quarterback is that cheap salary, so you can build a great team around them. And Jacksonville just doesn't have the pieces right now to build around a quarterback like Trevor Lawrence or Zach Wilson or Mac Jones. And Mac Jones was definitely the best rookie this season, and I don't think he warrants the number 1 overall pick. So I'm going to take him best player available. You never see a defensive end come into the NFL and get like 5 or 8 sacks. And he was a linebacker and got like 13 plus 100 tackles and picks, and was just an absolute menace. First team all defense. He's an all pro, and was in the
Yeah.
conversation for defensive player of the year in my opinion. So it got to be Micah
Yeah,
Parsons.
for sure. Yeah, if TJ Watt didn't have that historic season, he'd definitely. I don't know if he's a front runner because there's Miles Garrett there, but he's definitely up there. So moving on, the Jets. Bit of an interesting pick given that he had some struggles, but they're going to stick with Zach Wilson. So why do you have Wilson staying
Um,
to the Jets?
I still believe Zach Wilson's the best quarterback in this draft class. Personally, I think the reason for his struggles is purely situational, and obviously is not helping him by going back to New York. But I think he really proved something towards the end of the season when he had more of his options healthy. He only had a few weeks of Elijah Moore and Michael Carter healthy this season. Plus, he's missing a lot of talent on that offense. Terrible offensive line. He had the most sacks per play of any quarterback in the NFL. Was actually getting slaughtered back there. Um, Vera Tucker didn't help him much, so I really think that this pick is purely situational. And I think if you get the right pieces around him, Zach Wilson definitely is the most talented quarterback in this draft class. And I think that if you're in New York, you have to take a risk on that talent. And they do have more talent than Jacksonville, in my opinion. So although, and there's no player like Micah Parsons available to take at this point. I mean, Jamar Chase arguably, but I don't think you
They
take a
already have some solid
I don't think you
receivers.
take a receiver at 2 unless you're like Calvin Johnson.
Yeah.
Not to say that Jamar
I,
Chase isn't, but he's just Calvin Johnson is Calvin Johnson.
yeah, there we go. Wilson, as an athlete, as a playmaker, really has a lot of potential in him, and I think they have some decently solid options. And as they continue to build, get better, I think his talent will be unleashed. Take that Josh Allen type development. So number 3, we have San Fran, and this is an ideal situation if you're a quarterback. You have the best tight end in the league. You have Debo Samuel, who is playing like a top 3 receiver. You have a great collection of running backs. You have an absolute beast of an offensive lineman in Trent Williams, and you have the offensive mind in Kyle Shanahan to really take these players' games to the next level. And this quarterback was the best rookie quarterback in terms of production this year, and that is Mac Jones. So I think this is a no-brainer here.
Yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo certainly isn't cutting it in San Francisco. He misses too many. I said this all time and time again. If you look at Kyle Shanahan's offense, he'll tell you how to throw the ball, and he just needs somebody to execute his game plan. And Mac Jones he's a great quarterback for a great system. I think if you put him in a situation like New York or Jacksonville, he would be so bad. He would be unbelievably terrible. But you put him in a good system, I think he thrives. Not to I don't know, I'm not going to discredit any quarterbacks, but I just think he's a more of a system quarterback than other guys, and he needs a system. And San Francisco, top 3 pick, they're one of the only teams here that actually has a system. I really think that this is a great pick here at number 3. They probably could have gone him at number 10 if they stayed put, but I just don't think that's realistic for them. Obviously, we can't undo the trade, but I don't think a team ahead of them would have taken Mac Jones. So 3 first-round picks wasted, but, they get Mac Jones.
So next up, we got my Atlanta Falcons, and last season they rocked the 27th best offensive line, and there are some really good offensive line talents here, but I think one that really stood out and played out of his mind this season was Rashawn Slater. Probably the best. They're the best offensive tackle in terms of rookie production, and still has a lot of potential, room to grow. So I do like Slater here.
And similar to the Jacksonville, I don't think they're good enough to have a quarterback at this point. And Jamar Chase, well, they're not good enough to have someone to throw to the quarterback. So have somebody with the quarterback.
Matt Ryan is not. Matt Ryan's
no, Matt Ryan's better than all these rookie quarterbacks. I'm just saying that at the point of the rebuild, Matt Ryan's not going to be there for much longer. And you're going to be wasting those prime years of Jamar Chase. So
he's going to grow unhappy pretty soon.
And plus, you'll see why we wanted to have him fall a little bit with our next pick.
Well, Shiesty and Jamar unite again.
And there's just no better place for Jamar. If he went anywhere else, he would not be the player that he is right now.
He'd still be talented, but
he'd be getting like Devonta Smith numbers instead of getting
Jamar Chase numbers.
Jamar Chase numbers, yeah.
Yeah, no, Jamar in Cincinnati, it's a perfect fit. It was like the final piece of the puzzle, unlocking that offense. And that's Jamar, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd, man. That's a really sick receiving core. Plus Joe Mixon on the ground. So that offense is going to be
he's been a menace receiving this playoffs.
Oh, yeah. That's just going to be a lethal offense for years to come. So moving on to Miami, they took Jalen Waddle, and he had a great season. Don't get me wrong. But I think Penei Sewell, pretty solid for Detroit, definitely had a really good season, and that upside is there. And he's in a much better situation than Detroit, where players go to rot, and he didn't rot yet, so that says a lot.
It really does.
So I think Sewell, he's going to be protecting Tua Tagovailoa, and I know Tua won't have a go-to guy to throw to, but he's going to have someone protecting him for years to come, keeping him healthy.
And if you look at the problems with this offense, I mean, their first-round pick last year, Austin Jackson has been terrible. Their rookie, Liam Eichenberg, hasn't been great. And their other tackle, Jesse Davis, isn't good. Their biggest problem is offensive line. And if you look into the draft, I mean, they have a solid receiving offense coming into this year with Devontae Parker, Will Fuller, and Gesicki. I mean, obviously, you're not going to know the injuries, but with those injuries, Waddle was able to step up and fill a huge role. But Tua Tagovailoa as a quarterback is somebody who thrives with a clean pocket. And I think the receivers don't really matter if he's got a clean pocket. I think that the offensive line trumps a good receiver in this case, especially with how Tagovailoa plays. It's not like a Joe Burrow who can just evade pressure and make magic and chuck it to some incredibly skilled player who's wide open. Tagovailoa is more of an intermediate guy, and he needs more protection than a guy like Joe Burrow.
And this was the 32nd ranked offensive line. So in this year's draft,
Robert Hunt is good. I love him. You knew I love him. He's a great
Yeah,
player.
I know.
And he has the greatest touchdown not in NFL history.
Yeah, he's actually the highest graded player on, or highest graded starting lineman there. Austin Jackson has a 49.9 PFF grade.
God,
It's kind of,
I hear that pick like a D, and I'm so glad I did.
yeah, no, that was just a trash pick from the start. But moving on, we got Carolina, and they took J.C. Horn, who played 3 games, and I think
We
they
got
go
Detroit first.
cornerback. Oh, my bad. Detroit, they take another lineman. They take Creed Humphrey, and it's definitely risky taking a center at 7, something that is not really advised. But Creed Humphrey had played out of his mind for Kansas City, and I think was the best rookie offensive lineman.
He was the best center in the NFL this year. I
Oh, for
mean,
sure, for sure.
there's a couple of positions that you're not going to take in the top 10, like a tight end or a running back, but uh, Creed Humphrey has transcended the center position, has really made it. This isn't just taking a good center. This is taking a great center, someone who's going to be a solid piece for your offensive line for a year. I know you have Frank Ragnow at center right now. You can move him over to guard easily. This is the best player available. They need offensive line help. And you're going to have a great core with Ragnow and Creed Humphrey up the middle, whoever you want to put at center and guard combo. Uh, I think there could be like a downside like this with like an Eric McCoy and Cesar Ruiz combo. You have 2 centers on your roster. You move one to guard, and the one at guard is pretty terrible. But Creed Humphrey and Ragnar are much better than Ruiz are. Build the team through the offensive line. I think that's how you build a franchise. It's Creed Humphrey.
Definitely, Creed is going to be great. So I kind of spoiled it, but Carolina's taking Patrick Surtain here. Definitely was super tough this year, and a really, really solid pick for Denver. And I think Carolina, who needs a cornerback, will take their guy here.
Yeah, and they had this option in the draft, and they took J.C. Horn, just being the physical receiver that he is. I don't think Horn is too terribly far behind Surtain. I always thought Surtain was a better player. He's more of a man-to-man corner, and he's more suited to the modern NFL. But I don't think the Panthers are going to be too disappointed that they took J.C. Horn instead of Surtain. I think Surtain's a better player, and they definitely just should wish they had Surtain instead. But I don't think they're going to be crying over the fact that they have J.C. Horn.
Yeah. So moving on, bit of an interesting pick here. Denver takes Patrick Surtain at 9 in the real draft, and here they get their replacement for Drew Lock, who has definitely not lived up to those expectations that we've had
I'm a big Drew
after
Lock
that.
fan still. I can't let him go. I'm a big Drew Lock fan.
Well, we let him go here. They take Justin Fields.
Now the thought process is look at the situation. The Chicago had the worst passing offense in the league. Terrible receiving core. Donald Mooney was sick, but Robinson was 1 foot out the door already. And this team is one quarterback away from contending. And I think that you give them a franchise piece in Justin Fields, who played remarkably well, especially for running for his life behind the terrible offensive line. You give him a great offensive line: Bowles, Reisner, Cushenberry, Glasgow, Macy, and even Netanya Muti. I think this is a really good core with Tim Patrick, Son, Jerry Judy, Noah Fant, and Javonte Williams.
And you give him anybody except for Matt Nagy.
Matt Nagy. So I think this team, Vic Fangio coaching up a defense, obviously is Nathaniel Hackett now, but at the time, I mean, they got a solid team. The only other person I would consider taking here is bringing back Pat Surtain, but that options have long gone.
Yep. So our final pick of the episode here, we have Philadelphia taking Devontae Smith. Smith showed some really good flashes of a really great wide receiver, and I think he's going to continue to grow and develop along with Jalen Hurts. And I don't see Philadelphia taking any other receiver, and I think Smith, as a route runner, as a guy that can create separation for himself, and as just an elite pass catcher, is perfect here. They made the playoffs with Devontae Smith, and I think they just stick with their pick.
Now, Jalen Waddle undoubtedly had a better season. What did he have, like 100 and something receptions? Was an absolute menace. But I mean, this Eagles offense is really not predicated around the passing game, and being able to do what he did with the limited touches that he got, 64 catches for 900 something yards, I think was really impressive. He showed the ability to beat man-on-man coverage and just be an NFL receiver. I think he's more talented than Waddle. I had him higher ranked coming out, and I don't think Waddle proved anything more. I think he just had a significant volume in Miami. And I don't want to take away from what Waddle did. He's definitely a top 10 pick in my opinion. But just his receiver position is really tight in this year's draft class, and the need for receiver isn't as high. So,
Yeah.
Devonta Smith, I think, still solidified himself. And I think if Devonta Smith was in Miami, honestly, I think Tua has a better connection with him, and I think he probably would have done better, in my opinion, than Waddle did. So, no dig on Waddle. I was wrong about him. I'll take that all day, any day. I thought he was going to be just another speed guy like Henry Ruggs or Justin Ross or Jalen Rager. I think I had Jalen Rager wide receiver 17 that draft class. And people have him as a first round pick. I'm like, no, he's not. And I think
He was
I got
wide receiver 4.
I think I got a little overzealous with my slander of speed receivers because Waddle is not just a speed receiver. He has transcended that role, and
A good route runner.
we'll get to
Can
the
do a
next
lot.
episode. We'll get to the next episode. So that'll do it for picks 1 to 10. We'll see you next time.